Of all the peculiar truths in relationships, this one often slips beneath the radar. A woman's composure tends to wobble when the man in her life shifts his focus elsewhere. Now, I'm not talking about packing up your things and vanishing into the sunset. No, sir. I mean the subtle art of stepping back, the quiet rebellion of redirecting your energy inward. And oh, what a curious reaction it provokes. Picture this. You've been the attentive gentleman, showering her with texts, time, and tender devotion. But the moment you loosen your grip, the air changes, her steady world tilts, and suddenly the hunter senses she's no longer the hunted. An intriguing unease creeps in, a flicker of desperation she might not even recognize. The truth, hard as it may be to swallow, is that a woman's desire often burns brightest when she feels the chill of distance. Is it love? Perhaps. But more often, it's control slipping through her fingers. You've paused the pursuit, denied the constant validation, and now she's left wondering, why did he stop? Ah, my friend, here's where the tables turn. This isn't about affection or romance. It's the primal response to losing ground, that fleeting sense of power she held. It's gone. And now, driven by the need to reclaim it, she finds herself chasing what she once assumed was hers for the taking. But let's not mince words. The chase isn't always born of genuine care. Many times it's a reflex, a bid to regain the upper hand. When you step back and value your attention, you flip the script. You become the one who's sought after, the prize she didn't realize she'd taken for granted. So, if you're weary of chasing shadows and proving your worth to someone who's forgotten its value, take a step back. Let her feel the weight of your absence. For in this game, the true power lies in knowing when to stand still and let her come to you. Number 1. The moment you step back, she steps forward. Now, here's a curious truth about human nature, especially in the realm of romance. The second you stop chasing, she starts noticing. It's as though the universe whispers in her ear, the hunter has paused. And just like that, the game changes. You see, when a man becomes too predictable, always texting first, always eager, always available, he becomes as thrilling as yesterday's news. The intrigue fades, and the excitement with it. There's no mystery, no challenge. She knows you'll be there, waiting, no matter what. But the moment you pull back, that's when the story gets interesting. Picture this. You've been her ever-reliable suitor, the one who texts good morning and good night, the one who bends over backward to stay on her radar. And then one day, you decide to step aside. You stop chasing. You let her wonder. Suddenly, the gears in her mind start turning. Why isn't he reaching out? Did I lose him? This isn't about manipulation. It's about restoring balance. By stepping back, you let her feel the void of your absence. And what happens next is almost inevitable. She starts leaning in. Her messages trickle in more frequently. She checks in, finding excuses to reach out, subtly or not so subtly, vying for the attention she once took for granted. This isn't a trick, my friend. It's a principle as old as time. People value what they can't readily have. By becoming less accessible, you reframe the dynamic. Your attention, once treated as a given, becomes something to be earned. And let me tell you, that's where your power lies. So, take a step back, not out of spite or gamesmanship, but as an act of self-respect. Let her work for what she once overlooked. And in that quiet space of your absence, watch how the tide turns. Number 2, she values you most when you're hard to get. Ah, the paradox of human nature, particularly when it comes to matters of the heart. The harder you're to reach, the more fervently she'll reach for you. It's an uncomfortable truth, but an undeniable one. A woman treasures what she must earn, not what's handed to her without effort. Now imagine this. You're the dependable man, always available, always ready to respond at the drop of a hat. You're as predictable as a clock striking noon. At first, it's flattering to her, even comforting. But soon enough, it becomes mundane. She stops wondering, stops trying, and worst of all, stops valuing the attention you so freely give. Here's the rub. Women are wired to desire a challenge. They don't want something easy. They want something meaningful. When your time and attention are served on a silver platter without so much as a question, the mystery dies. But when you introduce distance, when you become a little harder to pin down, a curious thing happens. Her mind begins to whirl. Why hasn't he texted back? What's he up to? Suddenly, you're no longer a constant in her life, but a puzzle she feels compelled to solve. The same man she once overlooked becomes a man she can't stop thinking about. Consider this. You've been texting her daily, like clockwork, and she's grown accustomed to it. Then, one day, you take a step back. Your response is slow, your availability dwindles. At first, she's confused, but confusion soon gives way to curiosity, and curiosity transforms into desire. She's left wondering about you, and in that wondering, her interest reignites. The lesson here is simple. Value stems from scarcity. When you're no longer an open book but a story with intriguing, missing chapters, she'll be desperate to read more. This isn't about manipulation. It's about understanding your worth and letting her recognize it too. Be the man whose presence is earned, not given freely. And as the chase ensues, you'll see her appreciation grow. After all, it's the thrill of pursuit that keeps the heart aflame. Number 3, she starts chasing you aggressively. Ah, the human heart, a creature of contradiction, no less fickle than the weather on a spring morning. The moment you step back, pulling your interest away like a ship setting sail, she suddenly finds herself scrambling to tug the anchor back in. It's not magic, nor is it malice. It's pure psychology. You see, the scarcity of your attention creates a vacuum, and nature abhors a vacuum. What once felt secure now seems elusive, and the value of your presence skyrockets. She'll feel the shift, like a chill in the air, and instinctively seek to reclaim the warmth she thought would always be hers. Her actions will tell the tale. The texts start rolling in, first casual, then curiously frequent. "Hey, how are you?" becomes, "Is everything okay?" "I haven't heard from you." Calls follow, invitations materialize. She might even accidentally show up where she knows you'll be. Her tone suddenly sweeter, her words carefully wrapped in warmth. She's gone from being the monarch of comfort to a soldier on the battlefield of your attention. Why this transformation? Because people, women especially, place immense value on what feels just out of reach. It's the age-old allure of mystery, the yearning for what seems almost, but not quite, unattainable. Your withdrawal flips the script. You, once the pursuer, have now become the prize. Picture this. You were the diligent sender of good morning texts, the caller eager to catch her at her best. Over time, her replies dwindled to mere embers. Then one day, you decide to stop fanning the flames. Silence falls. At first, she shrugs. Perhaps she even enjoys the quiet. But soon, curiosity stirs. Where did he go? Why isn't he reaching out? When your calm indifference meets her increasing curiosity, it sparks a reaction. Messages come layered with concern, laced with longing. And when subtlety fails, she may even venture into bold declarations or invitations, her pride now a distant memory. This isn't manipulation. It's human nature at work. By withdrawing, you remind her of your value, leaving her no choice but to reevaluate hers. The pursuit that follows? That's her awakening to what she might have overlooked. A realization that your presence was never a given, but a privilege she must now work to regain. Number 4. She'll try to make you jealous to get your attention. Jealousy, a tool as old as love itself, wielded with precision by women who sense the sands of attention slipping from their grasp. When you begin to pull away, don't be surprised if she starts dropping breadcrumbs meant to lead you back into her web. Whether it's a casual mention of a charming coworker or a selfie on social media that's suddenly more glamorous than a Hollywood premiere, it's all part of the oldest play in the book. But let's be clear, this isn't about her newfound admiration for someone else. No, sir. This is a calculated performance designed to provoke one thing and one thing only: your reaction. The flattering comment she happens to mention? It's bait. The photo where she looks like she just stepped out of a magazine? That's bait too. Every story, every social media post, every flutter of flirtation is a carefully placed hook, and she's waiting to see if you'll bite. The real mistake most men make here is predictable. They do bite. They react with jealousy, confront her with questions, or double their efforts to win her back. And in doing so, they unwittingly play straight into her hands, proving that her hold over them remains unshaken. But not you. No, you're cut from a sturdier cloth. You see the game for what it is, and you refuse to play along. When she starts sprinkling these little provocations, you meet them with the calm indifference of a man who knows his worth. You don't ask who complimented her. You don't fume over her posts. And you certainly don't scramble to reclaim her attention. Instead, you carry on with your day, as unbothered as a mountain in the face of a passing breeze. Here's the beauty of your restraint. It leaves her strategy in shambles. Without the reaction she craves, she's left to question everything. Why didn't he respond? Has he truly moved on? Did she miscalculate her hold over him? In the echo of your silence, she feels the weight of your independence, and it's both unsettling and irresistible. By refusing to engage, you flip the script. She no longer controls the narrative, you do. And in the realm of attraction, there's no power move more potent than a man who cannot be swayed by petty games. Number 5. She'll text you more when she senses you don't care. Ah, the fine art of pulling back. It's like setting a fishhook in a calm river. When a woman senses that you're no longer the eager fisherman casting line after line, she starts swimming toward the bait herself. If you've always been the one initiating texts, watch what happens when you let the conversation go quiet. Suddenly, her phone buzzes, not yours, and the tide of communication shifts dramatically. Women, by nature, are drawn to what feels elusive. It's not that they thrive on the chase itself, it's that they crave the intrigue of uncertainty. The moment you step back and stop flooding her inbox with good mornings, compliments, and question marks, she notices. Her routine is disrupted, and with it comes a cascade of curiosity. Why hasn't he reached out? What's he doing? Has something or someone else captured his attention? Her messages start small, just ripples in the water. A casual, "Hey, how's it going?" Or a harmless meme. But when you respond calmly, without the urgency of a man with too much time on his hands, the ripples grow. Double texts might follow. "Haven't heard from you. Everything okay?" Suddenly, she's wondering more about you than she has in weeks. And why? Because you've shifted the power dynamic. Where she once sat confidently on the throne of your attention, she now feels the throne wobble. It's no longer a one-sided affair where your effort props up the connection. Your absence forces her to invest in the conversation, to work for what was once freely given. The mistake most men make is handing over their attention on a silver platter from day one, mistaking constant communication for affection. But this overextension only turns intrigue into routine and desirability into boredom. By stepping back, letting her wonder, letting her miss, you create a vacuum she feels compelled to fill. So, what's the takeaway? Don't chase. Respect your own time and energy, and let her discover what life feels like when you're not readily available. The man who values himself enough to step back commands far more attention than the one who spends every waking moment begging for it. And when she texts first, don't gloat, respond with calm, collected charm. You're not playing hard to get, you're showing her what she stands to lose. Number 6. She won't respect you until you make her earn your attention. Let me lay it out plain as a barn door. Respect is never handed out freely. It's earned, like a fair wage for an honest day's work. Yet too many men make the tragic mistake of giving their time and energy away like a charity drive. They cancel plans, bend over backward, and jump through hoops, all in the hopes of winning a woman's approval. But here's the hard truth. When something requires no effort to attain, it's rarely cherished. Now, consider this. When a man is perpetually available, always answering texts in record time, and rearranging his life at the drop of a hat, what message does that send? It tells her that his priorities are secondary, his goals negotiable, and his sense of self-worth tethered entirely to her whims. She might enjoy the convenience of your attention, but respect? That's nowhere to be found. Respect is born from boundaries and effort. A man who knows his value and protects his time shows a woman that his life doesn't revolve around her. He has his own ambitions, passions, and purpose, and if she wants to share in his world, she'll need to bring something to the table. That's not arrogance, it's balance. Picture this. Instead of dropping everything to meet her at her beck and call, you prioritize your gym session, your work project, or a night out with friends. Instead of replying to every text within seconds, you take your time. Because after all, you're a man with things to do. Initially, she might bristle at the shift. She might test your resolve with passive remarks or feigned indifference. But soon enough, she'll notice the change. The moment she realizes your attention isn't a guarantee, the value of your presence skyrockets. Suddenly, she's the one making plans, checking in and ensuring she fits into your world. She'll text more thoughtfully, show more affection, and perhaps even reevaluate her priorities. Why? Because she sees you as a man of substance, a man worth the effort. On the flip side, if you make yourself too available, she'll come to see your presence as a given, a background constant, like the hum of a refrigerator. But when you create scarcity, when your attention must be earned, it becomes a treasure. The secret is simple, friend. Respect is built when you show her that your life is full without her, that your world won't collapse if she steps away. She will chase not out of manipulation, but out of admiration. And admiration, when mixed with respect, is a powerful foundation for true affection. Number 7. She overcompensates by showering you with affection. Ah, the curious case of sudden affection, a phenomenon as old as courtship itself. One moment, she's aloof, perhaps even indifferent. The next, she's lavishing you with compliments, baking your favorite pie, and laughing at jokes that barely qualify as humor. It's as though she's had an epiphany about your undeniable brilliance. But let's not be so quick to pat ourselves on the back, shall we? When a woman senses your interest waning, her instincts often compel her to act. Not out of some newfound appreciation for your qualities, but from a deep-seated fear of losing the control she once held over your attention. Suddenly, the things she once overlooked, your wit, your ambition, your rugged charm, become points of focus. She pulls out all the stops, hoping to pull you back into her orbit. But here's the rub. Affection born of desperation rarely holds its shape. She may cook your favorite meal, join you in your hobbies, or surprise you with thoughtful gestures. At first glance, it's intoxicating, isn't it? The warmth, the attention. It feels like the connection you always hoped for. Yet, if you dig a little deeper, you may find that her actions are less about genuine care and more about regaining her footing in the power dynamic. The test of authenticity lies in consistency. A woman who truly values you will sustain her affection beyond the initial panic. She'll match your efforts over time, showing that her interest is rooted in mutual respect and admiration, not just a reactive attempt to keep you from walking away. So, what's the lesson here, my friend? A man of substance doesn't chase fleeting gestures or succumb to the allure of sudden sweetness. He watches, he observes, and he evaluates whether her actions align with true commitment or temporary fear. Because in the end, consistency and genuine connection always trump theatrics born of desperation. Choose wisely. Number 8. She'll start acting like she doesn't care. The oldest trick in the book? Indifference. When you pull back, don't be surprised if she suddenly dons the mask of nonchalance, acting as if your absence barely registers on her radar. But don't be fooled. This isn't true disinterest. No, my friend, this is a finely crafted strategy, a test as old as time itself. You see, when she acts like she doesn't care, she's watching closely to see if you'll crack. Will you panic? Will you rush to reassure her, pouring more energy and attention into the void she's created? If you do, you've just handed her the upper hand. The more you chase, the more she pulls away, and the power dynamic tilts decidedly in her favor. But let's take a step back and call this maneuver what it is: a test of your emotional mettle. She's not looking for a groveler. Deep down, she's gauging your strength, your ability to hold firm to resist the temptation of chasing validation like a moth to a flame. Now, here's where the magic happens. When you meet her indifference with calm confidence, something shifts. You're no longer playing the part of the predictable suitor. You're something different, something she can't quite pin down. And that, my friend, is where the intrigue begins. Stay rooted in your self-worth. Don't let her frosty demeanor shake you. Keep your focus on your own purpose, your own goals. By doing so, you send a powerful message. I don't need your approval to validate my value. And trust me, that kind of assurance is magnetic. What happens next? She begins to wonder why her indifference didn't work. Why didn't you chase? Why didn't you fall into the trap like so many before you? The questions gnaw at her, and suddenly the tables have turned. The takeaway? Don't play the game. Stand firm. By refusing to react, you become the man who's impossible to sway and utterly irresistible. Number 9. She becomes overly sweet and apologetic. The sudden transformation, the switch from indifference to sugary sweetness, from aloofness to tearful apologies. When a woman senses your interest waning, it's remarkable how swiftly the tides of her behavior can turn. But let's not get too swept up in the honeyed words and soft smiles, my friend. This isn't necessarily a heartfelt epiphany. More often than not, it's a calculated move to regain what she feels slipping through her fingers. You see, this shift is less about a newfound respect for you and more about the comfort she's losing. She had the luxury of your constant attention, your unshakable presence, and now that it's gone, or at least diminished, she feels the void. Her solution? Pour on the charm, sprinkle in a few apologies, and promise the moon and stars. But here's where the trap lies. These gestures can feel so genuine, so disarmingly heartfelt, that many men mistake them for real change. They get lured back in, swayed by the sweetness, only to find themselves stuck in the same cycle of complacency and neglect once the dust settles. A smart man, however, doesn't fall for the surface-level shift. He doesn't listen to words. He watches actions. Apologies are easy. True change? That's a marathon, not a sprint. If she's genuinely ready to respect and value you, it'll show in her consistent effort, her daily appreciation, and her willingness to meet your boundaries. Not in the heat of desperation, but in the cool light of stability. So, what's the move? Don't rush to embrace the newfound warmth. Set your standards and hold the line. If she's serious, she'll rise to meet them. If her sweetness is merely damage control, she'll falter once she regains a sense of control. And if she doesn't rise to the occasion, well, then you walk away with your dignity intact and your worth undiminished. After all, true respect isn't won through fear of loss. It's cultivated through mutual effort and genuine care. Demand nothing less. Number 10. She starts talking about the future. Ah, the future. An enticing realm of possibilities, often invoked when the present feels a little shaky. When a woman senses your attention drifting, don't be surprised if she suddenly starts painting vivid pictures of tomorrow, marriage, kids, or dreamy vacations yet to come. But don't mistake this for a heartfelt revelation. More often than not, it's a well-timed strategy to tether you emotionally, to make you second-guess your decision to step back. She's not just spinning a tale. She's playing on your innate desire for stability and purpose. And oh, how tempting it can be. After all, haven't you longed for this level of connection? But here's the question that must cut through the haze. Why now? If these dreams were so genuine, why didn't she share them when things were smooth, when your interest was unwavering? Timing, my friend, often speaks louder than the promises themselves. It's far easier to dangle the vision of a perfect future than to address the very real issues that have led to the current distance. This is your moment to pause, to ask yourself, are her actions backing up her words? Has she shown a consistent effort to bridge the gap? Or is this just a desperate attempt to regain control? A true partnership is built on mutual respect and shared growth, not on cleverly timed promises. If she's serious, her efforts will stretch beyond words into consistent, meaningful action. But if the talk of the future fades as soon as your attention returns, then you've glimpsed the truth. It was never about you, but about maintaining her grip on the dynamic. The harsh yet liberating reality? Respect is earned when you refuse to anchor your worth to her validation. Stand firm, assess wisely, and remember, a future worth building is never crafted out of desperation. Well, my friend, if there's one truth to take from today, it's this. Power in relationships isn't about playing games. It's about knowing your worth, holding your ground, and refusing to let anyone dictate your value. Women are drawn to strength, not in the loud, boastful way, but in the quiet confidence of a man who stands unshaken by emotional tides. We've uncovered the tactics, the subtle shifts, and the unspoken dynamics that come into play when you step back and reclaim your energy. It's not about manipulation. It's about respecting yourself enough to demand the same from others. Because when you stop chasing, when you focus on your purpose, you become the man who doesn't need to chase. You become the man who is chased. Now, the question is, what will you do with this knowledge? Will you continue to pour your energy into games that drain you, or will you step back and let your value speak for itself? If this video resonated with you, don't just keep these insights to yourself. Hit that like button, share this with someone who needs it, and subscribe for more wisdom to navigate the labyrinth of relationships. Until next time, stand tall, stay grounded, and remember, your worth is never up for debate.